Jonas Maxwell lived for the hush of dawn on Blackberry Bay's docks. His fishing boat, the Skylark, drifted along calm waters as he cast his lines with gentle precision. Born and raised in the small coastal town, Jonas embodied the dependable heart of the community. Standing tall and lean, with salt and pepper hair peeking from beneath a faded blue cap, he looked like the quintessential fisherman. Neighbors would watch him trudge along the pier each morning, wearing his reliable canvas jacket and carrying a wicker basket for the day's catch. While many in Blackberry Bay regarded him as somewhat shy, they knew Jonas possessed a quietly curious mind and a keen sense of observation. This would prove invaluable when strange happenings rattled their picturesque cove. It began with innocuous chatter, folks reporting keys misplaced or small trinkets vanishing. No one gave it too much thought until the day Harriet Bloom, the tailor's wife, discovered her family's heirloom pearl necklace missing from a locked trunk. Suddenly, a wave of whispering swept through town. Were thieves stalking Blackberry Bay under the cover of darkness? Or was it all a series of coincidences? People locked their doors and windows, scanning crowds anxiously at the farmer's market, yet no arrests were made, and as weeks passed, speculation died down. Then came the first riddle. Jonas found it nestled under a loose plank in the old boathouse he used for storing gear. The discovery happened by chance. He had dropped a small fishhook between the slats and went searching for it with a flashlight. Instead, he retrieved a folded piece of parchment, worn at the edges, its ink scrawled in a hurried hand. Intrigued, Jonas gently lifted it into the light and read the puzzling note. Where waves meet dawn, a secret hides. Diamonds lost, or so it abides. Look to the gull that's perched on high. Beneath its nest, the answer lies. Jonas felt a thrill race through him. Was this some kind of prank? He turned the parchment over, expecting instructions or a signature, but there was nothing else. An uneasy feeling settled in his stomach. It wasn't every day you found cryptic riddles tucked away near the docks, especially right after rumors of missing jewelry had begun swirling. He decided to keep the note quiet, at least for the moment. The next day he made time after his morning catch to study the riddle. He set off on foot across the docks, scanning the roofs and beams of the nearby boathouses for seagulls. All the while, he could practically feel eyes on him, as if the entire bay were alive with silent watchers. It was unusual for him to venture so methodically around the piers, but he was determined to follow the clue. He finally spotted a lone herring gull, perched atop a tall, weather-worn piling near the harbour master's little hut. The bird looked down at him without fear. Jonas wondered if beneath its nest meant inside the old piling itself. Carefully, he edged his boat around, parking it just near the post. Using a boat hook, he probed under the rotted wood near what might be a nest. Sure enough, he felt something catch. He itched to see what it was, but the gull, spooked by the movement, shrieked and fluttered off to a safer vantage point. Jonas pulled down a small cloth bag, knotted tightly, covered in bits of seaweed and damp with salt spray. Inside was a single earring, a glimmering diamond stud. Jonas recognized it from the advertisement Harriet Bloom had posted when announcing her lost jewelry. Specifically, a set of diamond earrings that were rumored to be part of the same inheritance as her stolen pearl necklace. He struggled to swallow his surprise. Why was one earring hidden here? Who wrote the riddle that led him to it? And did this mean the rest of Harriet's jewelry was somewhere close by? Though uneasy, Jonas felt compelled to hand over the earring. He returned it to Harriet that same afternoon, shuffling awkwardly at her shop door. Harriet's astonishment melted into joyous relief. She peppered him with questions, but Jonas avoided revealing all the details, offering only that he found it near the docks after spotting something unusual in the pilings. Harriet embraced him with tears in her eyes, insisting that if he ever uncovered the matching earring or anything else, she would be forever in his debt. The next morning, Jonas's routine resumed, though he felt a new tension in the air as he walked along the pier. The other fishermen greeted him with friendly nods. But Jonas sensed their curiosity. Word of the recovered earring must have spread, yet the question remained, why did whoever took the earring want it found? A fresh surprise awaited Jonas the following day. A new parchment slip was taped to the helm of the Skylark. This was different from the first note. Whoever left it wanted Jonas to see it. Hands trembling, he pulled it free. Tides roll in, tides roll out, clearing the footprints without a doubt. Behind the driftwood you shall see, the clue once lost meant only for thee. Jonas's heart pounded. He looked around, but the dock was deserted. He glanced out over the bay, scanning for any figure that might be slipping away in a boat. But only calm, rippling water stretched to the horizon. He decided to keep this second riddle to himself for the moment. The idea of rummaging through driftwood along Blackberry Bay's coastline both excited him and gave him a creeping sense of foreboding. Still, the earring discovery had brought Harriet relief, so perhaps continuing to follow the instructions would reveal more missing items and bring some closure to the town. He set out that afternoon in a small dinghy. The coastal line around Blackberry Bay was strewn with patches of driftwood after storms, especially in hidden coves. Jonas started at the northern tip near moss-laden rocks. Hours passed with him clambering over logs, poking through small wooden tangles. He was nearly ready to give up when, rounding a bend, he stumbled upon a large bleached trunk mercifully out of the water at low tide. Wedged beneath it, pinned to the sand, was a plain envelope sealed with a bit of wax. Jonas tugged it free, careful not to tear it. Inside he found another short riddle, scribbled in the same hurried script. In orchard blossoms a lady might roam, but among the branches she's lost from home. Look carefully where sweet jam's made, there you'll see a piece that's strayed. Again, no signature. Jonas figured that sweet jam's made referred to Thatcher's orchard, a lush spread of apple and plum trees that also housed a small jam-making business run by Old Man Thatcher's granddaughter, Rose. Rose was known for her whimsical orchard tours and fresh preserves. If a piece of Harriet Bloom's stolen jewellery had turned up in Gould territory, perhaps another part was hidden near the orchard. It was a bizarre game of hide and seek. The next morning, Jonas walked the orchard path. Early sunlight filtered through the blossoms, and bees buzzed around plump fruits. He tried not to draw attention, but Rose spotted him near the jam shack and ran over with a bright smile. She was a warm-hearted young woman, her braided hair shining golden in the morning light. "Jonas, what brings you here so early? Looking for some cider or jam?" Nervously, he explained he was just taking a morning stroll. She pointed to the orchard's wooden crates near the jam-making shed. Jonas hovered near them, scanning the ground carefully. He almost missed it. A small piece of cloth peeking out from beneath a crate. He pretended to tie his shoelaces, scooping the cloth into his jacket pocket. Half an hour later, alone behind a stand of apple trees, Jonas pulled the cloth free to find a ring gleaming inside. The ring had an intricate swirl of small rubies, delicate as the lines in a seashell. He recognized its design from the same set Harriet spoke of. Another piece of the puzzle, another part of Harriet's stolen collection. Jonas exhaled, feeling relief and confusion in equal measure. Someone was deliberately guiding him. But why? He returned the ring to Harriet that afternoon. She looked profoundly thankful, though her anxiety was clear. "Jonas," she said earnestly, "if someone is leaving you riddles and returning my jewelry piece by piece, then they must be playing with us, right? Why not just dump the entire box on my doorstep?" Jonas admitted he had no good answer. Yet he promised her he would keep vigil, sure that more notes were coming. The following day, Jonas decided to linger near the docks, keeping an eye out for any suspicious visits. He borrowed a pair of binoculars from the harbour master and settled in behind a stack of lobster traps, hoping to spot whoever might be leaving these cryptic messages. Hours passed. Seagulls wheeled overhead, fishermen came and went, but no one approached Jonas's boat. By late afternoon he was stiff and tired, deciding to call it quits. As he stepped onto the Skylark, He felt a presence behind him. Heart pounding, he whipped around, but found only a fluttering piece of paper caught under the rope coil. Another riddle. Jonas looked out at the open water, sure that somewhere a mysterious figure was watching him. He grabbed the note and read, "On a moonlit night, beneath the pier, a hidden gem shall reappear. But mind the swells that make you sway, for watery secrets don't like day." He carefully replaced the rope coil, scanning the boardwalk again, but nobody was there. The riddle mentioned beneath the pier and moonlit night, implying Jonas should wait until darkness fell. The notion sent a shiver down his spine. Where the piers extended over the shallow water, barnacles and seaweed clung to the pilings, and the tide occasionally formed swirling eddies in the gloom. Managing his nervous anticipation, Jonas returned home to rest until dusk. That evening, under a crescent moon, he rowed along the underside of the main pier. Lantern lights shimmered across the black water. He scanned each piling, taking care not to scrape his boat against them. The smell of salt and damp wood hung heavily in the air. A faint reflection drew his attention. Something glimmered in the moonlight near the last piling. He moved closer and discovered a small silver locket clinging to a wooden crossbeam, fastened with a piece of fishing line. Jonas lifted the dripping locket, wiping away sea scum. It bore an ornate bee on the front. He scrambled to recall Harriet's story. She had mentioned a silver locket with her initials HB. This piece, though, had only a B. Could it be from a different theft? Confused, Jonas gently prized it open. Inside was a photograph, too water-stained to identify the face clearly. He recognized a blur of a woman's features, maybe from decades ago. This might not be Harriet's after all, yet it was carefully placed as part of the puzzle. He pocketed the locket, planning to investigate further in the morning. Jonas only got a few hours of restless sleep. At first light, he marched to the harbour master's office and asked if any stranger had docked a boat recently. The harbour master, a tall man named Ricky, shrugged. "A boater named Randall Baines showed up a few nights ago, though I don't know much about him, just that he's got a battered old motorboat and didn't want a proper slip. Paid in cash too, strange for around here, but I didn't think much of it." Jonas's ears perked up. A newcomer in a battered old motorboat, paying in cash and avoiding scrutiny, might very well be the rogue boater behind the riddles. Jonas thanked Ricky and spent the next few days scanning the harbour, curious if Randall Baines's boat would reappear. Each evening, Jonas rowed a short distance from shore and looked for a suspicious vessel lurking among the moorings. On the third day, with the sun setting in pink ribbons over the bay, Jonas finally spotted a lone craft, anchored far from the docks. It bore chipped paint and an outboard motor. He couldn't see anyone aboard. That same twilight, a fourth note turned up on Jonas's boat. This time, it was not a riddle. Instead, it read, "Jonas, if you found the silver locket, good. Return it in the place where we first met if you dare. I know you have Harriet's jewelry. Bring it all to the boat at midnight tomorrow." The note was unsigned. The place where we first met? Jonas had never met the man in person. Was this an attempt to lure him out alone at night? He had to think carefully. He didn't have Harriet's entire jewelry collection, only the pieces that had been hidden and recovered. He also had the mysterious silver locket. Was it stolen, or did it belong to Baines in some way? And where exactly was Jonas supposed to meet him? Jonas decided to confide in Harriet. They arranged to meet at a quiet corner of the local cafe. He showed her the silver locket, but she didn't recognize it. "It's not from my collection," she said softly. "Perhaps it was stolen from someone else, or it's personal to him. The photograph is too damaged to tell." Harriet grew concerned at the mention of the midnight rendezvous. "Jonas, you can't go alone. This might be dangerous. We could inform the sheriff." Jonas considered it. Sheriff Reed was reliable, but lead times for official help could be slow in such a small town, especially when dealing with a cunning suspect, who might flee at any sign of enforcement. Jonas believed the best approach was to agree to the meeting, but to do so on his own terms. Harriet insisted she at least wait nearby, or possibly inform one or two trusted neighbors. Late the next night, Jonas anchored the Skylark near the old boathouse. He'd told Harriet and the sheriff in confidence about his location. If he didn't return by dawn, they knew to come searching. The moon was nearly full, silver beams glinting across the water. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. He had Harriet's recovered items in a small tin box, along with the silver locket. He felt a weight on his heart, aware that in venturing alone he was courting danger. A low rumble of an engine broke the stillness. The battered motorboat approached under minimal lighting. Jonas squinted, and a lone figure stood at the helm. He wore a hooded jacket, face partially obscured. He brought the boat alongside Jonas's craft with surprising finesse for someone labelled rogue. "I see you got my notes," the man said quietly, cutting the engine. "Thank you for returning Harriet's jewels." Jonas bristled, confusion and frustration battling inside him. Why orchestrate this? Why not just turn them in through normal channels? The man removed his hood, revealing a weathered, narrowing face. He was in his late 40s, perhaps. His eyes contained a flicker of desperation. That jewelry was never meant to be stolen. But I needed leverage to get back what was taken from me. Jonas studied him warily. "The silver locket?" Randall Baines nodded. "My mother's locket. It was in Harriet's father's possession. He owed my mother a debt decades ago. When she died, all her belongings got sold or shuffled around. I tracked it here, discovered Harriet's father had parted with it. I confronted Harriet, but she claimed she didn't know about the locket. In my frustration, I took the box of jewelry, rummaging through for the locket. When I found it missing, I realized this all sounds crazy, but I only wanted that keepsake. Her father owed us. And I have nothing else of my mother's." Jonas narrowed his eyes. "But Harriet's earring, ring and necklace, there's no reason to keep them. Why hide them all over town?" Randall held up a trembling hand. I lost control. I thought if Harriet truly had my mother's locket, she'd come searching to get her jewels back. Then I realized Harriet might be telling the truth. Maybe she never saw it. Maybe it ended up outside her possession. But by then, I had already hidden parts of the jewelry. I'm no thief, Mr. Maxwell. I'm just a desperate man. Once I discovered the locket was actually under that pier, I knew I should return Harriet's valuables, but how could I do so without getting arrested as a thief? So, you left cryptic riddles for me to find them and return them to Harriet. Jonas finally understood. You wanted to be sure the items were found without you being caught, but why involve me specifically? Randall's gaze flicked to Jonas's boat name. My mother was a Maxwell. Distant cousin, maybe, I'm not sure, but I recognized your name in the harbor registry when I first arrived. I hoped you would care enough about a family tie, no matter how small, to help me do the right thing. Jonas fell silent, uncertain what to believe. Was Randall truly a distant relative? It could be a ruse, or it could be genuine. The silver locket's photograph might be of Randall's mother. He rummaged in his tin box and drew out the locket, extending it toward the man. This is everything I have. Harriet's jewelry plus the locket. Harriet wants her inheritance back. I'm sure she'd be willing to listen to your story, but not if you keep hiding. Randall's eyes clouded. I made a mess of things, he whispered, taking the locket with trembling hands. Then he reached for the tin box containing Harriet's items, rifling through them to confirm everything was there. With a tearful breath, he handed them back to Jonas. I can't keep them. Please, return them fully for me. Let Harriet know I never meant harm. Jonas hesitated. You need to come forward. The sheriff is already aware something is afoot. Harriet might be upset, but it's better than running forever. Randall swallowed hard. I don't want to run, but I can't stay. Not yet. Not until I can prove Harriet's father owed my mother. If she's willing to hear me out, I'll return. Maybe we'll settle things properly." Jonas opened his mouth to protest, but Randall was already starting the motor and backing away. "Go on," he called over the engine's rumble. "Go do the right thing." The battered vessel receded into the darkness, leaving an unsettled Jonas behind with Harriet's box of jewelry safely at his feet. Sunrise painted the horizon in pastel hues as Jonas stepped onto the dock. True to his plan, Sheriff Reed and Harriet were waiting. Relief washed over their faces when Jonas climbed from the Skylark, the box in his arms. Harriet's hands flew to her mouth when she saw the glint of her items inside. Sheriff Reed listened carefully as Jonas summarized the strange encounter, though he withheld Randall's claim of distant kin. Jonas wanted to verify that privately first. Harriet wasn't sure how to feel. Anger, confusion, and gratitude warred on her features. "I can't believe this man hid my jewelry all over Blackberry Bay, leaving you Riddles. If all he wanted was some locket, why not ask me directly?" "He tried," Jonas replied gently, "but I think resentment and desperation clouded his judgment. He wanted the locket for personal reasons. We'll need to see if there's any truth to his story about your father owing his mother." Wanting to avoid stirring the whole town, Harriet and Sheriff Reed promised only a discreet investigation for now. Harriet would talk to close relatives about the locket and see if any old documents might confirm the debt. If it proved legitimate, Harriet could be open to making amends. In the meantime, the sheriff intended to track down Randall Baines's identity and record of ownership for the boat. Over the next few weeks, no new riddles appeared. Jonas split his time between fishing and researching his father's side of the family tree, wondering if there was a Maxwell in Randall's lineage. He found some half-forgotten stories of an aunt who married a traveling merchant decades ago. Could that have been Randall's mother? He felt an odd sense of kinship with the man's plight, even though his methods had been extreme. In time, Harriet uncovered a dusty ledger that hinted at a loan her father had taken from a woman named Lucy Maxwell, Randall's mother, apparently. Lucy had arranged some side deals with Harriet's father, but the details were incomplete. Harriet was shaken by the realization that her father might have owed Lucy for more than Harriet had realized. Determined to do the honest thing, Harriet left a careful note in the harbour master's hands. An open invitation for Randall Baines to discuss the matter, if he ever returned. Blackberry Bay gradually returned to its tranquil ways. The swirl of gossip faded into a fond local legend. The time Harriet's family heirlooms went missing, scattered around the bay in Riddles, only to be discovered by Jonas Maxwell, a fisherman with a sharp eye and an unexpected sense of adventure. The townspeople teased Jonas that he'd found a hidden calling as a detective. He always blushed and shook his head, insisting he was just in the right place at the right time. Occasionally, Jonas would glance out over the horizon, remembering the mysterious figure who vanished with the battered boat and the silver locket clutched to his chest. No one besides Harriet, Sheriff Reed, and Jonas knew the full truth of that midnight exchange. Jonas wondered if Randall would ever return, having found the answers he so desperately sought. Perhaps one day, Jonas mused, the rogue boater would reappear at Blackberry Bay's docks, not as a thief, but as a man seeking to reclaim his heritage and family name. For now, though, the puzzle was solved. Harriet's family jewels were home, and calm once more enveloped the wharf. In the hush of dawn, Jonas would again cast his lines into the bay's gentle waters, lulled by the comforting rhythm of the swells. The riddle-chasing days were behind him, replaced by a renewed appreciation for his simple life and the remarkable secrets that sometimes arrived on the tide. And if by chance another cryptic note turned up among the sandy planks or clung to a piling, Jonas would be ready, ever faithful, ever watchful, reminded that within the peaceful surface of Blackberry Bay, hidden treasures could still gleam in the depths below.